There are a lot of ways to change how QuickBooks works for you. And in this chapter, we're going to focus on customization options for sales and customers. First, you'll discover how to change what QuickBooks calls your customers, the people who buy from your business. What if you run a non-for-profit and people don't buy from your business? Well, you could always change from customers to donors. What if you run a property management company? You could have your customers be labeled as tenants. After that, we'll show you how to use new fields on your sales forms and how to track that form on reports. The last part of this chapter is all about how to change the look and feel of your invoices, sales receipts, and estimates. You'll learn how to add a logo to your sales forms, customize the header, the body, the footer, and even change the default email message that you send to your customers with these forms.
By default, customers is the term QuickBooks uses for all the people and businesses that pay you for services or purchase products from you. QuickBooks comes fully equipped with reports that deliver information about customers, such as the Sales by Customer Summary Report and Transaction List by Customer. And when you create an invoice, the very first thing QuickBooks asks for is the customer's name. But what if you don't have customers? Maybe you run a dental clinic, so you have patients. Or perhaps you run a property management company, so you have tenants. QuickBooks offers several alternatives to the customer label. You can change how QuickBooks refers to your customers by going to the gear icon, Account and Settings, Advanced, and then selecting the very bottom selection. This is where you can change what QuickBooks calls your customers. Let's call our customers clients. Click Save. Now let's see what effect that had on our company file. In the Reports Center, QuickBooks no longer has customer reports. Instead, there are client reports. And when you're entering a transaction like an invoice, QuickBooks asks for a client instead of a customer name. Use customer labels to change how QuickBooks refers to the people you do business with.
Sales transactions have a lot of fields where you can record information, like due date, date, address, and even fields that can be turned on or off, like shipping or discounts. But what if you want to track something that's unique to your business? The designers of QuickBooks are not able to anticipate every business's needs. So instead, they let you create your own fields to track whatever information you want. Then you can run reports and look that information up later on. One of the most common uses for this feature is to track sales reps, but you can use this for whatever you'd like. Just open the Gear menu on your invoice screen, and you can add up to 3 custom fields to track whatever you want. Note, this process is a little different for QBO Advanced, and we'll talk about that next.
If you use QuickBooks Online Advanced and want to use custom fields, select the gear icon, then Custom Fields, and finally, Add Field. If there's something you want to track about your customer that isn't already in QuickBooks, select Customer Info. Or if you want to track something like sales reps, which is related to transactions, select Transaction Info. First, enter a label for the new field. You can call it whatever you're trying to track. Then choose what you want to track. For this field, you could choose text, but you'd need to type the sales rep's name every time you record a sale. So instead, you can set up a new drop-down list with all of your sales reps' names. You can set up as many as 99 selections, but let's just set up 2 sales reps. These checkboxes let you show the information in the custom field to customers, or vendors if it's for a purchase. Save the custom field. Now you'll find it on all of your sales forms and purchase orders if you use them. Remember, this method of setting up custom fields only applies to QBO Advanced. If you use any other version, use the gear icon on your invoice to set up your own custom fields. Let's enter some sales and use our new custom field. The first sale we'll enter is Gevelbear Photography. This sale happened today, and QuickBooks fills in the address and email address information for us automatically. Gevelbear Photography paid us with their Visa, and our credit card processor deposits payments to our bank account at the end of the day. So we'll put this payment into undeposited funds. Gevo Bear Photography bought 2 pumps and a rock fountain. Our star employee, David O'Brien, is the sales rep who showed off our fine selection of rock fountains. This sales receipt is done, but we need to enter another, so select Save and New. Our second sale was with Duke's Basketball Camp, and Duke's Basketball Camp also paid with their Visa, and the money went into undeposited funds where it'll stay until the end of the day when it's deposited at our bank. This sale was for 3 sprinkler heads and 10 sprinkler pipes. The sales rep who worked with Duke's Basketball Camp is our second best employee, Trevor Matheson. So we'll enter Trevor as the sales rep. Now just save the transaction and close it. Getting the information in is great, but the reason you use custom fields is to track this custom information on reports after the sale is made. In the next topic, you learn how to do just that. There are 2 methods for looking up information entered with custom fields, and which you prefer to use is entirely up to you. Both have their own advantages and use different kinds of reports. First, let's look at a method for finding custom field information on summary reports. Right now, we're seeing all of our sales for this date range by customer. But what we want to see are just the sales that particular sales rep was responsible for. To get that report, click Customize. Then select Filter. Now turn on the Sales Rep filter. Let's enter David, which was the same name we used on one of our sales earlier. And then run the report. Here we can see the amount of sales that David was responsible for by customer. QuickBooks also gives us a total of all of his sales at the bottom of the report. Let's change the report so that we're seeing Trevor's sales. Go back into the Filter section and change the name from David to Trevor, and run the report again. Uh-oh, something went wrong. I think we misspelled Trevor's name when setting up the filter. This is the key drawback to using this method for looking up custom field information. If you use filters, any misspellings, either on the sale itself or in the filter, will leave you with inaccurate reports. Let's check out a second method that's a little less prone to error. This method uses detail reports instead of summary reports. Now we're able to see all of our sales listed by customer, with each line of each sales transaction listed separately, and also a total by customer. Up at the top, there is a field unique to detail reports named Group By, and currently it's set to Customer, since this is a Sales by Customer detail report. Choose Sales Rep and run the report. Now QuickBooks shows us each sales rep, along with each line of each transaction they were responsible for, and a total for the period of time we've selected in the date range field. The advantage to this method is that it displays all entries for the custom field regardless of spelling. So even if you misspelled a name or another piece of data in a custom field, it will show up on this report. Maybe David isn't our star employee after all. It looks like not specified as our best sales rep. Once you've decided on a method to track your custom field data, you can save the customization on the report and access it anytime you like. Let's rename this report Sales by Sales Rep. Then save. Now we can access this same report again from the Reports Center under Custom Reports, instead of having to customize the report over and over again every time we want to run it. Use custom fields to track any data that is important for your business.
In the real world, the appearance of the forms you send to customers and vendors conveys the image of your company. If you send your customer a handwritten invoice scribbled on a piece of paper, you send a very different message than if you send a color-printed invoice with a professional logo. Has a company ever sent you an invoice with empty boxes? Just because a column or a field is available doesn't mean you have to print it. Those companies haven't watched Mastering QuickBooks. During the next few topics, you'll add a professional look to all of your sales forms. As you learn, you can change the format, add a logo, even customize fonts and colors. Then you customize what information appears on the header, body, and footer of a sales form. Last, you learn how to customize the default email that you send to customers. You can always change this message on an email-by-email basis, but by creating a default, it'll save you a lot of time.
Let's take a look at how customers see the sales transactions that QuickBooks send them. First, click Invoices or Sales. Open the very first invoice on the list, and then Print or Preview. This is how a customer sees an invoice once it's sent to them. While there's nothing wrong with this invoice, it doesn't really have much personality either, and definitely doesn't distinguish itself from invoices from other companies. Let's spruce up the sales forms for this company. Select the gear icon, and then Custom Form Styles. By default, all of your invoices, sales receipts, and estimates use the standard template, and changing it will change all of your existing transactions as well. You can change the standard style by clicking Edit under the Action column. You can also create completely new styles by selecting New Style. This lets you set up a new template and use that template on your future transactions while keeping all of your old transactions the way they were when you first recorded them. We'll edit the standard style. On the left, QuickBooks displays attributes of the sales form that can be changed, while on the right, you see a preview of what the changes will do to the form. First, choose the template for your sales. Notice how the look and feel of the invoice changes on the right. Choose whichever template you like best, but note that if you want to send sales forms in windowed envelopes, you should not choose Fresh or Bold because they don't support that feature. Next, every good sales form needs a logo. Click the selection with a plus symbol. Select your logo. When you're done, click Save. When you upload your logo, QuickBooks changes the colors on your invoice to match your logo. But you can still change the color to whatever you want. Choose a different font here. And then finally, change your print margins. Fit the transaction to windowed envelopes or choose to use letterhead paper. In the next topic, you learn about options for customizing your header. Let's customize the content of this company's sales forms. Sales form content is divided up into 3 parts: the header, table, and footer. To customize something, just click it, and QuickBooks shows your options on the left. Anything with a check mark shows up on the header of the invoice. Scrolling down, here you can see the options for form names and numbers. QuickBooks uses the terms invoice, estimate sales receipt, and credit memo for your sales forms. But if you want your customers to see something different, you can change the form names here. Maybe you don't send estimates to customers. You send proposals. And if you're setting up a nonprofit, you probably call your sales receipts donations. You can also choose whether or not to show customers the invoice, estimate, sales receipt, or credit memo number. Usually, it's a good idea to have this turned on though. Also, you may have noticed that when entering sales transactions, there wasn't a field to number your own sales forms. If you check this box though, you can enter whatever number you like when entering a sales transaction. Here you set whether or not you want to show customers shipping, terms, and due dates for transactions. Finally, there's an option to include your custom fields on sales forms. You can turn these on with any of these checkboxes. In the next topic, you learn about customizing the body of sales forms. Now let's adjust the body of the sales template. The body is where the customer sees what products and services they're being charged for, as well as some other useful information. The first option is whether or not to show an account summary. An account summary lets the customer know what their balance was before the invoice, the new charges, and their total balance. It's kind of like a mini statement and is very useful if your customers tend to carry a balance over time. The activity table is what explains to your customers what they're being charged for, or what you're proposing on an estimate. Any of the columns displayed on the right can be turned on or off with the options on the left. This company doesn't need a date column for products and services, so uncheck it. You can also change the names, widths, and order of columns. Just select Edit Labels and Widths. The activity column shows the name of the item or service that we're charging a customer. But let's make it a little clearer and replace it with "This is what you bought." Note that you may need to change the widths of the columns with your new titles. Let's make the quantity column appear first. Just move your cursor to the 9 dots next to the column header's name and click and hold your left mouse button. Then, drag the icon where you want it to appear on the activity table. And release your mouse button. Now quantity appears first on the preview to the right. Once you're finished, click Hide Labels and Widths. There are a few more options at the very bottom left. Group Activity By lets you group time charges on invoices to customers. Time can be grouped by day, month, week, or type of work performed. You can also collapse multiple rows of time on an invoice that are for the same rate and description with the Collapse Activity Rows setting. If you send multiple invoices as a job is completed, you can show what percentage of an estimate has been invoiced with this checkbox. By default, QuickBooks doesn't show markups on billable expenses when they're moved onto an invoice, but you can show this to your customers if you check this box. You can also choose how QuickBooks shows billable time on an invoice with these settings. In the next topic, you learn to edit your footer and default email messages. Click the bottom third of the preview to change the footer. Click any of these boxes to show customers discounts they've received, deposits they've made, or a summary of the estimate that was used to create the invoice. Here you set the default message to customers for invoices, which appears towards the middle left in the footer area of the invoice. You can have a different message for estimates as well. Finally, you set the footer at the very bottom of transactions. Let's enter a legal disclaimer given to us by our crack team of lawyers. We are not responsible for anything under any circumstances, no matter what, ever, with 5 exclamation marks. They tell us that 5 exclamation marks makes this footer legally binding in all states and territories in the U.S. Note where the footer appears on the bottom right. Email options are also available from the Emails tab. Just choose the type of transaction that you want to personalize and make the changes below. You'll always see a preview of your work on the right. Right now, this company only shows a summary of charges in the email. The full details are on the PDF and in the link that the customer can click to see the full invoice. But if you switch to full details, they'll see everything in the email as well as on the attached PDF and the invoice that they can click to see further details. Scroll down and change the standard email message to whatever you like. You can still change it before you send it to customers, but this lets you set the default that always appears when emailing customers. You can also change the reminder email QuickBooks can send to customers if they have an open balance. Click Preview PDF to see a final preview of your hard work. This is the new sales form. If you edited your standard form, all existing sales will change over to this template once it's saved. If you're creating a new form, you'll need to select it the next time you enter a sale. Click Done to finalize your choices. If you have multiple sales form templates, you can choose between them when entering your transactions. Click Customize and choose the form you want to use. Once you've saved a transaction with your new template, the next time you go to create the same type of transaction,